So with Sicon Audit Log installed in my Sage 200 system here, you can see I've got an auditing folder. The data is stored in the Sage 200 database, meaning it's fully integrated. As I expand, there's a number of options, but I'm going to begin with settings. Now, Sicon Audit Log is designed to track changes to areas that Sage doesn't as standard. So we can see there's a number of these Sage modules here. The only one that's not Sage is the Sicon Contracts module here. As I select, for example, Cashbook, I've got two options on the right-hand side. First one is, do I want to enable auditing for that particular module? No, I don't for Cashbook, so I've got that switched off. But for example, for Purchase Ledger, yes, I do. The second option is silent tracking. So whilst I am going to track changes to the Purchase Ledger, with silent tracking disabled, it's going to pop up and ask the user for a reason why they've made that particular change. If I look at my sales ledger, for example, here, I'm also auditing that particular module, but with silent tracking switched on, the changes are just going to be recorded in the database in the background. The user is going to be unaware of that. So again, you've got choices as to how you want to handle this. It's not going to stop those changes being made. It's just going to ask for a reason just to rationalize that. So we'll start in the purchase ledger and we'll pick an account, and actually we'll do the bank account details here. So again, an area that certainly is popular and why a lot of customers would purchase this module. As I add a sort code, and I'll add a new bank account number in. As I save, because I've made a number of changes, it's actually going to pop up. Now you can see there's three entries here. So the first one is I've made an edit. So I've edited this record. I've not created a new purchase ledger account. We can see here the field in the database called bank account reference. The old value is blank, and I've put a new account number in. Down here, the same with the sort code. And this is just updating. There's been an update to Sage's table where we've made a change and it just tracks the date of the change. So the old change has not been updated since 2022, and obviously we've made the change today. Then at the bottom, we've got reasons for remaining changes, and I can enter a reason, or alternatively, we do have this option here where you can create specific reasons that you may well add. I'm just going to say new details from the supplier. As I save, those changes have been made. They're actually stored in the database, and again, just to show you this, if I amend the account here and just come back in, the change has been saved. The system hasn't stopped me, but that has been recorded in the database, and we'll see that shortly. So the difference when we come to the sales ledger this time, if I look at my customer list, is if I pick one of these accounts, and I'll make a similar change. So let's just have a look at the payment. So we'll change the payment terms to 45 days for that particular account. If I save, that change has been tracked in the database. The next option we're going to talk about is the ledger sign-off. Now, this is not an approval area. This is not going to stop those changes, as I said earlier, being made, but it is an opportunity for a user to be able to see, well, what changes were made since the last time we approved and signed those off. So rather than running reports and track through, we can see those details. Now, because I'm logged in as a user called Steve, I can't see any of the changes I've made. And again, that makes sense from a sign-off. So I've actually got, I'm logged in as another user, this time Steve Mance. If I go to ledger sign-off, and if I just filter this and I look at the purchase ledger, for example, we can see at the top here, and if I just expand this across, there's the changes that I made to the purchase ledger account. And again, we can start to see the old value, new value, the date changed, which user made the change, and the details from the supplier. Now at this point, I could select them all, or I could just select those three and say, actually, I'm happy with those changes. Yep, they make sense. And if I sign them off, all that does is that's going to put a stamp to say it's been seen by Steve Mance and signed off by him, and it just removes it from this particular list. And if I do the same for our sales ledger, again, that was tracked silently, but we can see the change, the old value in terms of the number of payment days to 45 days. Reason type there is silent tracking, and if I sign this off, then that disappears. If I come back in as my original user, there's a reports folder with audit log changes. So even if you didn't sign them off, they are all still stored in the database. And if I look, for example, I say select the module and I'll look for my purchase ledger. And if I save that, it's a standard Sage report across 9 pages. If we go to the bottom, what we can see then on this particular report is all the changes have been made, but we can see to that particular purchase ledger account. The change was made by me. It was approved by Steve Mance, and the details and the various different areas. So again, that's stored for all of time. We can get back to that detail. And if I was to look for the report for the sales ledger, again, what we'll see is if I just go to the last page again, there's the change that was made by me, approved by Steve Mance with the silent tracking. It is as simple as that. Now, a couple of differences. We've got an import here. This was a new feature that was added a few versions ago, where for those of you who import your price lists, again, we've got our own import which can track who's done the import there. And then from a maintenance perspective, this is where you can set up that list of reasons which people would then use as a default. So that's a brief overview of Sicon auditing. The final piece, we don't track every single change to the database. We track the key ones that have been either we've identified or over the years have been added in. And to get an idea of which fields in the database we are tracking, feel free to visit the Sicon website, sicon.co.uk. Go to the help and user guides, across to audit log. And as we go down, you've got section 11 is the appendices audited fields. It's an Excel spreadsheet. And if I just open it, it goes into Dropbox, which you can download. And it's got a series of tabs, and you can then see the various different, the table and the fields that are tracked all the way from nominal account, customer and customer address, etc. So fantastic module, perfect for those of you who are looking to track certain changes, perhaps the credit limit as you saw there, or the bank details which Sage isn't, and you want that audit functionality.